I'm me, Tischler, founder of New Horizons Golf Approach. Today I want to introduce you to my book, Secrets of Owning Your Swing, the Revolutionary Power 3 Golf Approach. In the book, I introduce you to 12 biomechanical features that all golf swings possess. Each feature has 3 options, and only one of those options fits you. What you want to do is understand 12 feature options that fit your body type, and you want to incorporate those into your golf swing. If you do that, you'll have a swing you can own for a lifetime. Today, I want to talk to you about 4 of the biomechanical features. These features have to do with how your body works in the golf swing. In the last video, I covered how your arm swing worked in the golf swing. Now we want to talk about how your body works. The first feature I want to talk to you about is what I call your swing anchor feature. Your swing anchor feature has to do with your body's best balance point. Some of you may have more muscle mass and bone mass on the right side or the left side of your body. Some may have more on the right side of your body. Some of you may have spinal conditions like scoliosis that move your center of gravity to the right or to the left. What we want you to do is understand that based upon all those conditions, that you're either going to rotate best around your left hip joint, your right hip joint, or your center of gravity. And this brings us to what we call a swing anchor feature. So, there are 3 basic features, or there are 3 basic options in the swing anchor feature. The first one is what I call front anchor. The front anchor golfer gets set up where they have more weight on their front foot at address, and they feel like as they rotate, they start with more weight there, their head stays in position to counterbalance the action, and you'll notice that they favor that front side or that front hip joint as they're pivoting in the golf swing. There have been many great front anchor golfers. Ben Hogan and Hale Irwin are examples of 2 great front anchor golfers. Now they use different techniques and they look different, but they were still front anchor golfers. The rear anchor golfer, they're going to get loaded with more weight on the right foot, to start their swing. So they preload weight on that side, and as they rotate, they're going to feel like they keep that weight loaded on that rear foot. As they come into impact, they're going to notice the weight is still inside the right foot until it releases through delivery and goes to the left foot. You'll notice at this point, as I'm in my extension, I'm still maintaining that rear anchor balance. It looks like I'm leaning to the right. Okay? Once I've released and I've got to that extension, I go ahead and release my posture up to a full finish. All golfers have postural release. So just because I'm saying you favor a pivot that's more to your right side or you favor a pivot that's more to your left side, by no means does that mean that you're going to stay in that position all the way through your swing. It means that you preload or you load your pivot there, you start your delivery from that position, then you allow your weight to shift, and then as you go through to the full follow through, you release your posture up to the full finish. There have been a lot of great rear anchor golfers in the game, and traditionally it's been the convention that's been taught over the last at least 2 or 3 decades. We also have a lot of center anchor golfers. Center anchor golfers set up more 50-50. As they pivot, they have much more of a symmetrical balance. You'll see my head is still more in the middle of my feet as I'm turning. Center anchor golfers, they sort of have a sense of symmetry. They get set up 50-50. As they turn, they feel 50-50. As they come down, they feel 50-50. And then from here, I want to go ahead, release my weight all the way to my left side and get up to the finish. So keep in mind that when we're looking at your swing anchor feature, we're pretty much trying to determine where is your body balanced the best. Is it balanced more forward? Is it balanced more rearward? Or is it more symmetrically balanced? And we want to utilize that in your golf swing. Then we want to get your head to counterbalance that action so that you can sustain as balanced a pivot action as possible as you're making your golf swing. Okay, the next feature I want to talk about is what we call your torque system. The torque system is, again, how your body develops torque, one of the ways your body multiplies power in the golf swing. Conventionally, torque has been taught is try to keep your hips as wide as possible and turn your shoulders as far as you can in the backswing. That's developing torque in the upper body, from your waist up through your shoulders. There are a lot of golfers that are unable to do that. Maybe they have short torsos, or maybe they're just very inflexible in torsos. What these golfers do is they feel like they get their feet nice and grounded. They feel the structure of their legs and their joints create a nice stable stance. And from here they turn their hips freely in the backswing. At this point, I feel like my feet are anchored and I've created a lot of torque into the ground. So I'm using ground force, I'm using my hips to turn, and I feel a torque from my waist down. I call that lower body torque. Now these golfers, due to their flexibility, may have a little extra torque or differential between their shoulders and their hips at the top. However, they're trying to create that torque in their lower body action instead of their upper body action. So the convention again is to keep your lower body still, like your lower body's in cement, and just try to turn your upper body to generate torque. That's what I call the upper body system. Now, we also notice golfers that use the upper torque system, even though they may be trying to keep their lower body cemented in the ground, as they turn their shoulders are going to pull around, and they're going to get a little bit of turn in their hips, and it may even go down into their knees. Okay? But still, their focus is on generating the torque with the upper body action. Now we also have full body torque golfers. We have golfers that feel like they have a good ability to utilize that ground force, create a good hip turn, create that torque or that lower body torque first, and then from there they have enough flexibility and strength in their torso to go ahead, coil their shoulders some more so that they feel like now they've got torque from the ground all the way through their sternum. And that's really what playing power of golf from the ground up is. The key though is to realize which one fits you. If you're weak in the torso, you have a lack of flexibility in the torso, you have a short torso, then utilize your strength in your legs and your ground force to get that lower body torque. If you have a long torso and you have a lot of strength and flexibility in your torso, go ahead and resist your lower body action a little bit. Let your upper body initiate the torque, but also allow it to pull your lower body into action. And if you feel like you're more proportionally built and you're able to develop that torque action from the ground up, so it's happening from your feet to your knees to your hips, through your torso and your shoulders, then go ahead and do that. All three of those options are valid. You simply have to find out which one fits you. Okay, the next action I want to talk about is what we call your clearing action. Clearing has to do with how we rotate and posture during the transition. When we get set up to the golf ball, we've created postural angles. And we say that we kind of have the rear end up against the wall or on the wall at the address position. When we go to the top of the backswing, my left side just came off the wall. So what I have to do is I have to get my rear end back on the wall during the transition. So now I've created this room for my arms to come down. If I go to the top of the backswing, and this hip came off the wall, and during the transition my other hip comes off the wall, I've just now filled the gap, and my arms are going to go out and around. So we need to make sure that we're restoring our postural angles during the transition so we feel like we have a good opportunity to create that slot or open up that slot so we can get our arms, hands, and clubs slotting in the downswing. There are three basic ways of creating this clearing action. So I'm going to do it from this angle first so you can see what my left glute is doing. If I go to the top of the backswing and my left glute is off the wall, what I want to do now is get the sense that I'm sort of pulling that left glute back on the wall. If I do that, I'm going to create a lot of room down here for my arms to slot. So the arms, hands, and club can slot coming down into the downswing. Okay? Now, a lot of people try to do this. They go up to the top and they try to pull that left hip back, and the right hip immediately comes off the wall. If you do that, you've just filled the gap that you needed to keep open. And here's what it looks like from this angle. We go up to the top. I try to pull my left hip back on the wall, and my right hip immediately comes off the wall. You can see I'm going to get outside, what I call outside the slot if I do that. I think over the top is really a bad term. What you really want to do is get the club slotted. So you're either under the slot, where a lot of golfers get stuck, or you're outside the slot, and then that's where people say they swung over the top. So what I want to do is I want to get to that top of the backswing, and when that left hip is pulling back on the wall, well, my right glute still has to stay back there. Again, that creates that room for me to come down into the golf swing. Okay? Another way of creating that action is focusing on your tailbone. If you go to the top of the backswing, as you start your transition, your tailbone just pushes straight back on the wall. Again, you're going to see that's going to create room for my arms to come back down and be slotted from the inside. Okay? And this is a feeling again. This is something that you have to find out which one works best for you. All three options are valid. Okay? The other way of doing it is to go to the top, and once you get to the top, feel like you literally pin that left or that right glute against the wall. So if you go to the top and you pin that right glute against the wall and you keep that glute on the wall as your hips turn, once again you can see how much room that's created for my arms to come down in the downswing. So there are three. We have front hip clear, tailbone clear, and the rear hip clear. You need to find out which one fits you. Okay, now, the last feature I want to talk to you about is what we call your axis of symmetry. Your axis of symmetry has to do with how your upper body rotates in the golf swing. Just like your swing anchor had to do with where your hips were loading, we're going to find out that the upper body has this axis of rotation as well. And that is largely a function of how the spine twists in the golf swing. We do have rotation in the upper spine. So what we want to do is find out how does that work. Some golfers, when they get set up, they're going to feel like they literally keep the spine in position. They just rotate around the spine. And what happens is, as their shoulders are turning, their sternum will actually rotate away from the target. And that's what keeps them feeling like they're rotating around the spine. Now keep in mind, you're not actually rotating around this perfect spine where the spine's perfectly rotating like in a cylinder. But the illusion that we see when we look on video and we draw our lines is that golfer's upper body's rotating around their spine line. Now, we also have golfers that rotate around their sternum line. These golfers, when they get set up, because of the way their upper body rotates, as they turn their shoulders, their upper body torques towards the target. And once again, there's an illusion for these golfers as they go to the top, but they're actually rotating around this line. This stays in position, and the upper body rotates towards the target. A lot of golfers are accused of having a reverse pivot that do that, when the reality is it's just the functionality about how their spine works. Okay? So we are going to have some golfers that do that. So if you were to look at the camera and you pin this spot right here, and as I rotate to the top, if it looks like that stays still, then I have a spine line axis of symmetry. If we go from the rear view, and we look at that same spot, and as I rotate, my whole body goes this way, and we're going to see I have a spine line axis of symmetry. All right? The last one is what we call center line. Some golfers, as their shoulders turn, their sternum will move away from the target and the spine will move towards the target in an equaling amount or degrees. So once again, keep in mind, everything biomechanical happens in a matter of degrees. So this is why we have these variations in the golf swing. So we're going to see that if I'm a golfer, and if I feel like when I turn, my sternum moves a little to the right, but my spine moves a little towards the target, that's a center line axis of symmetry. Once again, we can find golfers throughout history that use all three of these. So one golfer will be a spine line golfer, another golfer a center line golfer, and a third golfer a spine line golfer. The spine line view has been the traditional view over the last 20 or 30 years. However, there have been a lot of great golfers that have used the other two as well. So the key is, once again, find out which one fits you, incorporate it into your golf swing. If you do that, you can truly own your golf swing.